Form C, which is my trailer. First thing I'd like to inspect on my trailer is the front of my trailer, my header board. Make sure there's no cracks, there's no broken welds. It's supposed to be secure enough. If I stop suddenly, it would secure my load. Next thing on my trailer is my landing gear. Make sure my landing gear is all the way up, my bolts are all in place, my supports aren't cracked, my bolts are all in place, my legs are all the way raised, pins are in place. If I had a handle, that would be secured in place. This is not the handle type. Next thing on my trailer is my frame. Check my frame, make sure there's no cracks in my frame, no broken welds, cross members are all straight. Next thing I'd like to inspect on the trailer is one axle. Only required to inspect one axle on Form C of the pre-trip inspection. I will inspect the rear axle. First thing I'd like to do is my suspension. My spring mounts on my suspension, these are welded in place. There should be no broken welds on my spring hangers, my spring mounts. There's no cracks, should be no rust. I would check my front one, and I'd also check my rear one. Next part of the suspension are my leaf springs. They should not be shifted, should be no cracks in them. My torque arm is underneath my leaf springs. Bolts are tight on that. Should be not cracked. U-bolts that hold my springs in place. There should be no cracks in my U-bolts. Nuts are secure. My air lines go into my brake parts. My air lines have no kinks, not swollen. Next part is my brake chamber. Check my brake chamber. Securely mounted, not cracked or dented. My slack adjuster should be secure in place. My push rod should not push out over 1 inch when I apply my brakes. My pins should be in place on my slack adjuster. Next thing I'd like to check on my brakes are my brake drums. Should be no cracks on my drums, no welding, no fluid on my brake drums. My linings should have sufficient lining on my brake pads. I can see them here good. Brake pads are sufficient. Next thing I'd like to inspect are the wheels. First thing on the wheels, my tires. Rear trailer tires should have at least 2 32 tread depths. Sidewalls should have no splits or cuts on my sidewalls. Here's my tread depth. Minimum of 2 32 tread depth on that. Sidewalls, no splits or cuts or bubbles on my sidewalls. Also inspect the pressure on both tires. Check in between my tires. Should be no foreign debris in between my tires. No rocks or sticks. The tires should be evenly spaced. Go to the outer wheel, inspect my rim. My rim should have no cracks in it, no broken welds, no welds on my rim. Check my lug nuts. Should be none missing. Should be all tight. No signs of rust indicate my lug nut loose. Check my axle seal. Bolts are in place. Should be no signs of leaking on my axle seal. Check the fluid on my axle seal. Next I'll go to the rear of the trailer. We have a door back here, or a tailgate. I'd check my tailgate, make sure that there's latches are good, that the seal is good on my tailgate, it doesn't leak, and my hinges are good up there, pivot's good. Inspect my door or my gate on the rear of my trailer, and check my splash guards or mud flaps, make sure they're long enough, make sure they're not tore. Both sides, make sure my bolts are in place, that my splash guards are securely mounted. And I'd like to, on the rear of the trailer, need to inspect your lights. I will inspect my clearance lights, that they should work. When I have my headlights on, the lenses should be clean, not cracked, and working properly. Should be red on the rear of my trailer. We have to inspect my left turn signal. That should work properly. When you turn your left turn signal on, should be flashing. Inspect the right turn signal. When my turn the right turn signal on, that should flash when you turn it on. Check the four-ways. When they put your four-ways on, both of them should flash. And inspect the brake lights. When you apply your brakes, your brake lights should light up. And here the inspector helps you inspect your lights if you like to do that. Also, the reflective tape should be on the rear of your trailer. On the side of the trailer, if your truck is equipped with ABS lights, this is an ABS light. When you hit your brake, this light should light up, should be red. The lens shouldn't be cracked. This is a rear clearance light. It should be amber in color. But this should come on when your clearance lights are on. And check your reflective tape. Reflectors, reflective tape is in place. And you also have one clearance light in the front of the trailer. It should work properly when you have your clearance or marker lamps on. Should be amber in color. Lens not cracked and working properly when you have your clearance lights on. This concludes Form C of the pre-trip inspection test.